So this session is aimed mostly at people having to deal with very large process maps. In Skore, we do recommend having smaller process maps. I'll come back to the reason why. So there's a number of reasons why we may end up with very large process maps. We have a map where we keep adding some content over time and then it becomes a bit out of control. There's something we need to refactor, or we keep expanding the scope. So what started as a very small process, Jen goes on and on and on. And at the beginning, it's just about managing expenses, and then it's the whole payroll process that we end up mapping. Another part where we see a lot of massive maps is when we have converted legacy processes. In the legacy version of Skore, it was indeed quite convenient for reporting and all the business tools to have one single process maps. But we don't need to do that in Spinnaker anymore. We can have smaller maps and then use the business tool with a scope. So the recommendation is to keep map short and sharp. It makes it easier for you as an editor. So this session is mostly aimed for process editors, makes it easier for you, but it will also make it easier to search for your users and to manage over time. If you have a smaller maps, they can cover one single topic. The name of the map matches exactly what's in there. So it's easier when you do a search to find. You can have better keywords. You can have a specific process owner. You can manage the whole version lifecycle with approval and publication is managed on a single piece of content, and not imagine a map that could cover like the whole HR area where you have a hiring employee, dismissing employees, a performance review and all that. When you want to do one change and then republish, you're actually republishing the whole thing. Where if you have smaller maps, you're actually just republishing exactly what you've changed, which makes it much better in terms of traceability. And also when it comes to commenting and reviewing the processes, in the whole collaboration part of Skore, doing it at the map level when it's only one map per topic, which makes it much easier to report on, to track, to follow up, and to see what the comment is about. Because again, imagine a mega HR map with everything, and if someone adds a comment, you need to open it to understand where they've left it, because the email notification, for example, will just tell you HR map. It will not tell you, all right, this is in the performance review process. As I was alluding before, in legacy version, having one single map was actually quite useful to be able to report on all the maps. But now in the business tools, we have a scope selector where we can select one or more maps that we can include in the scope, and you can refine your selection very, very precisely. This is great. Last argument, I would say, for access rights. For those of you using it, access rights are at the map level in Skore and not at the diagram level. So if, again, in your HR space, you have some processes that are under construction, to me, the best use case for using access rights is when a map is under construction. You can manage access right just one little part and go ahead and publish the rest while you're catching up on the process, and then publish it later. Last but not least, the load and save faster. So smaller maps means less things for your browser to work with. And we've realized for mega massive maps, there's indeed a clear benefit of working with smaller things. But the performance, the downside of the performance, you need quite a big map to feel it. But still, always less is more. Less in memory, more speed. What I will show you today is a couple of tools to refactor. The technical term I'm using is refactoring a map. Refactoring means we don't change really the meaning, we are just reorganizing it. But from now on as well, if you tend to create big maps, I think that the new habit to take is to create a map when you do a new topic. Okay, if you're doing the expense management and then you end up doing the whole payroll system, just create a new map for that and then link them together using links I will show you. Okay, so I will show you a couple of tools in Skore that are very useful to reorganize the content. So I have an example content below here that I will open. So this is a procure to pay process, which is typically one of these end-to-ends that can fit on one process map. But at some point, you probably realize that, okay, it would be better if my process was standalone, if it has its own process map, its own life cycle, and all the benefit, all the things I said earlier. So typically, the first step will be, we're here. I've drilled down into source and onboard suppliers. And we realized that, okay, we need to add a couple of steps to this process. So First, what we do, we don't even have to create another map. Maybe we can use this hierarchy that we have in Skore to push some content down and create a lighter level. So let's say between approve the vendor and the onboarding, we need to do a couple of steps. So what we can do here is actually push that. I show you. So I've selected these boxes that I want to group, and then I'm going into edit button, and I have moved selection into a new detailed view. Okay, so now it will create a box here actually, and we can call it like validate vendor. Okay, all these boxes are now pushed in the lower levels, and I'm just doing a little tidy up, arranging the boxes so they all look nice. Validate the vendor, and then I have my content here. As you know, I can easily drag and drop the inputs and outputs from the level above, so I can create a sort of a consistency between my levels, which is good but not mandatory. Very often we don't need the same level of details at every level, but why not having that as a starting point? So then I can reorganize my map and then keep mapping. So again, I can do some very quick rearrange to get that. So now I have my validate vendor, very simple 3-box process. And at the level above, again, a 3-box process as well, which is much easier to read. So sometimes I'm not going into the full things of actually creating a new map, but just pushing content down, and then we can define the role. So the procurement manager will be responsible for that. Okay, so keep each level readable. I think it has many, many benefits for you. You can see the whole story from the end to end of your process almost on one screen. And when you teach people about this process or when you review it, it's always good to review an entire diagram from like all the boxes, and then you drill down into source, for example, source and onboard suppliers. You review that, okay, this is how we do it. And then you go one more level below, and this is how we do it. So this is always having short, smaller diagrams with, I would say, from my experience, is always manageable to keep under 12 boxes. Like 8 being sort of a sweet spot. I find it keeps it readable, easy to grasp, easy to know where you are in the context, and then you drill down into a lower level of details. And also, I find it when you're presenting a process to someone, where reviewing for improvements or you're teaching someone, it's good to always keep the context, because when a big process map on one single flat level, you will have all sorts of level of details on one single screen. You have things that are very high level and things that are super low level, like reviewing the quotes, have the right dates and the right stamp from the supplier. So it also allows you to have different levels of details and different levels of conversation, because the conversation you will have while reviewing this high level will not be the same as reviewing this level where we are really down in the details. Now, let's say we keep working on this validating the vendor and we realize it gets a bit out of control. Actually, it would be much better that it's a separate process altogether. So what I can do, you can do that with copy paste. That just works. What you can do is select this box here, and in the edit menu, the same way I was earlier, I can do copy details view to a new process. So it suggests the name, validate vendor, and I do copy content. Okay, there it goes. I can even open the process directly from here, but just didn't click on purpose. It will be in the same folder. So the same folder where, as a matter of fact, for me, I have my drop-in presentation content. I have a new process called validate vendor, and I can find this content that I just had earlier. Okay, so request quote from vendors, etc. So now I have an independent process. I will show you the benefit I was explaining earlier. So it can have a dedicated process owner. Let's say it's me, where maybe an entire owner of the procure to pay higher level is maybe someone else. So I'm the one responsible for the vendor. If I need to manage access right, let's say this process is work in progress. I don't want everyone to see it yet, so I can manage the access right just for this little part. And then for the version history, obviously there's nothing yet. I just created it a couple of minutes ago. But when you will have the history, it will be just this part, this validate vendor process and nothing else, which makes the traceability much better. Now back into my original procure to pay. I will show you what's the next step. So On purpose, we do not remove it from the drill down. Okay, so sometimes the copy fails for whatever reason, so you always have a copy until you're sure. So now I can do a clear detailed view here. It will actually clear my process, and what I typically do is I will create a link. So to create a link, you have several ways, but the easier I find is to select the text and click on the little link icon here. And we have vendor as a keyword, validate vendor. It's a process. I'm just going to the top level, so I don't need to select a specific box. I just want to go to this process. You have an option to select to open a new tab, but I don't like it. Now you have a link to the process. So instead of having a drill down, you have a link. What I know a lot of customers are doing is also inserting a little icon. So to insert icon, I went very quick, sorry, but I went into the full text editor. It's sometimes a little bit easier. Typically, I'm using one of these arrow right, close editor, voila. A little link hint that says, all right, go somewhere else, click on this link to see this process. And from an end user perspective, we know that when they see a text that is blue underlined, people don't really need to be trained to understand that it's clickable and it will go where they need to go. So when I refactor maps, that's actually the thing I do the most often is pushing drill down content into a separate map and creating a link. This is the one thing that I've tend to have done the most. I saw a lot of these little things. We feel good about keeping some old content, but most of the time, this content will never be retrieved or be used in one way or another. So there's two options if you've kept some old processes version. Either you move that to another process map doing exactly the process I showed you. So you select copy detailed view to a new process, and then you make it somewhere else in the workspace. You get it out. It's dirty. It's useless to have it there. Or you just take the bold move, or you just delete it. You once and for all. Nobody remembers what was said in this workspace, this workshop that was 6 months ago or a year ago. We can just get rid of it. And if a good ideas always come back. This is what I always say. So if there was a gem of an idea in there, I'm sure it will come back at some point, because if it makes sense, it will come back. So get rid of all these old stuffs, either by creating them and moving them to other map. And then in your workspace, why not having an archive folder, or just archiving them completely. So if I'm going to my drop-in, you can take any process and archive it. So here we have archive of delete. So I can archive or delete permanently. So delete permanently is gone, and archive, it's half gone. It's gone from the view. So I will do that for you. Now it's gone from here, from my view, but you can still see it here, filter by, and we can see archive. So here it will show me a couple of archived processes that were there, and we can retrieve them by changing the status in the same menu, an archive or delete, and I can make that active again, and it comes back to my main view once I've changed my view. Okay, here it is again. So yeah, we are sometimes getting emotional and very attached to process maps for no reasons. We had fun in a workshop, but that doesn't mean the content needs to be kept for absolutely forever. I will show you something I've done in an existing content that I have here, creating a little landing page. So I'm the CTO at Skore, and you see that I'm applying my own recommendations. So these are basically the processes that are in my remit: major incident outage, product marketing, product management, technical development, etc., etc. So all these are like small, tiny processes. And what I've done, I have a landing page. So you can do much more graphical landing page, but I like this one. It has the benefit of having a quick access to the different processes in my territory, let's say, but also showing the end-to-end of my domain. So the security and risk, the managed incidents, product work, the technical infrastructure, deployment, etc. So I see the end-to-end process with like nice icons for each. I had fun looking for icons. You know how long you can waste looking for the right icon, but it's satisfying once you find it. And a link to the process. But also I made a quick access here at the top just so we know what you want to target. Boom, yeah, very easy to click. So this is what I call a sort of a mini landing page. We have a number of examples, and we've done a number of drop-in sessions specifically on designing landing pages. So to me, this is what I recommend doing. This is creating like the procure to pay, could be like that, a high-level process with how many blocks do we have? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You say it always keeps under 8 is very easy. So 7 boxes. It tells a story end to end, and then when we need to know more, we can just click on the link and see what we've done. And then what I've done is created on the template on the top left corner of the process, I've done a link to go back to the little portal to make the navigation quite easy. So we talk about it at length in the drop-ins on dedicated to landing pages. To come back to my initial starting point, so there's a clear benefit in having short, sharp process maps. Skore is built for smaller process maps. You can create process map with 4,000 boxes. We've seen that. But every time we engineer a new feature, every time we build something in Skore, it's with the assumptions that a process map is for one single topic and will not exceed, I don't know, 12 boxes per level and 3 levels. So 100 or 200 boxes max. And then keep it readable, keep it simple, keep it easier to navigate and read. We are there every Wednesday. If you need help, if you have a particularly big map that needs refactoring, you're struggling with making it work or how to decide how to split it, don't hesitate to contact us. We're always happy to have a little chat with you and directing you in the right direction to decide what to do next. Thank you very much and have a good evening.